What is going on, everybody? So, as you all know, the 2022 season for the Jacksonville Jaguars is over. The Jaguars on Saturday fell to the Chiefs on 27-20, and their season is now over. But that does not take away how tremendous of a season it really was for the Jaguars. Coming in with, kind of low expectations. I know some people said, I expected at least 7 wins from the Jaguars, and people said that I was crazy, but I didn't think 7-10 was too crazy to ask. But luckily, the Jaguars went, started 2-6. We looked like we were down and out, and this was another just year of the rebuild. But then the Jaguars finished the season 9-8, won the AFC South, swept the Titans, and then we won a playoff game. Now, there's one part that's being mitigated a lot that I think I need to stress, man. The Jaguars swept the Titans this year. I think that's underrated when we look at really the season. We all talk about the comeback. We all like that Dallas game at home was awesome. Clearly, the Titans get into the AFC South was awesome, and also the playoff win. But we swept the freaking Titans. What a year it is, and I hope that we continue to sweep the Titans and we continue to sweep really the rest of the AFC South teams. And really with this one, man, I think I feel best. Like when it comes to the 2022 season, I feel the best for like the season ticket holders. Like I know people that have been season ticket holders for 5, 10, 15 plus years. And, they just go through seasons of crap and more crap. But this year, the Jaguars went 5-2 at home in the regular season. And they even went 1-0 in the playoffs. We essentially got 2 home playoff games with that, week 18 do or die Jaguars Titans game. And the last time the Jaguars lost a home game was on October 23rd against the Giants. So it's been over 3 months since the Jags lost a home game. So, if you're a season ticket holder out there, man, salute to you. That's awesome. Way to stick with it. I know, you're a better fan than me. I spend a lot of time talking about the Jaguars, but I don't really spend a lot of money, on the Jaguars like you do. So shout out to all you guys, man. And really with the 2022 season, I think at some point I will post a more in-depth video just kind of talking about how just the overall 2022 season, what we learned, give different guys their flowers. But with this one, man, we're now in the off season, and look, like usually I'm used to being in off season mode in like October, November. So, and right now we're almost in February, so I'm a little bit behind. I'm a little bit behind on this off season talk, but we're free before we know it. Free agency will be here. Then the draft is just about 3 months away. So we're gonna have a lot of stuff coming up. The NFL calendar is awesome, where there really is there's not a lot of downtime. And as an NFL fan, that's awesome because every month it seems like there's activities going on. So yeah, that's a big thing. Now, when it comes to the future of the Jacksonville Jaguars, it's never been more bright. It's never been more bright. It's such an awesome time, and the main reason why it's bright is because for the first time really in my lifetime, we know that we have our head coach and quarterback. And when you look around at the blueprint in the NFL, all the teams that keep coming back, it's all the teams that have the great head coach and quarterback duo. You look at the NFL and look at the Final Four teams: Chiefs, Bengals, Bills, and Jaguars. And I imagine those are going to be the final four, going forward with, maybe the Chargers kind of mixed in there. Even like the Ravens have a chance if Lamar Jackson can be like fully healthy. We'll see about the Browns. I mean, Deshaun Watson was a pretty good quarterback before he got traded. I didn't watch many Browns games, but who knows if Deshaun Watson can return to form, they might be back, but I think they have some weird stuff going over there with their roster. They don't have a lot of draft picks. They're paying Deshaun Watson a lot of money, but this isn't a Browns video. This is a Jaguars video. So yeah, and really with the Jaguars now, the expectation is that we make the playoffs every year. Like playoffs are the expectation, and the real hope is that we can go win a Super Bowl. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, next year training wheels are off. I mean, we'll be by far the favorite to win the AFC South. I mean, we're the only team that has a quarterback. I mean, like literally, we're the only team that has a quarterback. The Colts don't have a quarterback. The Texans don't have a quarterback. They have the number 2 and number 4 overall picks. So you imagine, they'll be drafting a quarterback and kind of a weird quarterback class. I feel like, there's a lot of flaws with each of them. You look at the Titans and, they might be too far back to draft a quarterback, but, maybe they take a chance on Anthony Richardson, or, maybe they keep running it back with Tannehill. Maybe they get into this, Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. I don't know. But at the end of the day, all these teams have questions at quarterback, except the Jaguars. Okay, we have the hardest, piece solved and really just figure out how to improve the rest of the roster, man. And look, really with the Jaguars over the course of the next 10 years, there's going to be a lot of roster turnover. Look, we're going to have good players that we straight up can't afford, and we're going to have, guys come in and out of here. But the thing that we all really hope that stays constant is we have, 10 years from now in 2033, we hope that, look, if Trevor Lawrence is still the quarterback and Doug Peterson is still the head coach, that means that we're going to have a lot of success in the next decade. And I really, really can't wait for it, because I have a lot of belief really in both of those guys. Now, this offseason talk is going to be a lot different, this offseason compared to a lot of offseasons that we've had. We shift from, wanting to sign everybody, from having all this free agency money. So we're going to look at all these different teams and see what they have for us to grab that those teams can't afford. And, now we don't have that. Now the focus is to look at our own roster and figure out, how do we keep our own talent? So that's going to be a new kind of shift in philosophy. And also a new shift is the fact that we don't have a top 5 draft pick. We're so used to drafting top 5, top 10, and having easy mock drafts. We're only talking about 2 or 3 guys. This time around, we're picking number 24. We would be picking at number 25, but Miami actually had to surrender their first round pick due to the Brian Flores tanking situation. And just all that went on with that whole entire mess over in Miami. So yeah, the philosophy is going to change. There's going to be a lot of new things to look at. And, with the late round draft picks, we're going to have to study up a bunch of different guys. I know history does not really prove us well in the 20s. I mean, Caleb Von Chason was a draft pick. We all remember Taven Bryan. We'll see how Devin Lloyd turns out, but it's a hard spot to draft. But if you're, teams do it. Good teams draft at those late 20s, early 30s all the time, and they figure out how to, grab some studs. So we got to hope that Trip Baalke is on his A game. So what would Jaguars going to have to do? Like in this video, what we're really going to discuss is really just broadly look at our free agents, what we expect to do when it comes to keeping guys, letting guys walk, if we restructure some different guys, and we'll do like kind of an early look at the draft and kind of our picks. So per Spot Track, we are currently $28 million under the cap, or over the cap, whatever the word is, which is the 3rd worst in the NFL. Now, I am not a cap expert. Like the salary cap is just so weird. Like there's teams like, I don't really understand, because there's teams that are like way over the cap, but they're still like have all these guys. So I don't like, there's all these this talk out there. Cap isn't real. I don't know. I can't, I'm not an expert on that. So I can't really shed a lot of light on that. But, the good thing about the Jaguars is that, I know a lot of us have had our complaints about Shad Khan. I think a lot of the complaints come because he hasn't been able to like hire a great coach or just keep a sustainable team where we're winning all the time. In his tenure, since he bought the team in January of 2012, he's only had 2 seasons that have not been double-digit loss seasons. So clearly it's like, dude, what are you doing as owner? Why are we losing so much? We were winning with Wayne Weaver, and now we're losing with you. But, and you can have a lot of complaints about Shad Khan. But the one thing that you can't complain about is that Shad Khan is not cheap. He is willing to renegotiate these salaries to give players a lot of upfront money, to lower cap hits. And that is something that not a lot of owners are able to do simply because they don't have the money for it. I know in the past, like teams like the Carolina Panthers, for example, have been kind of strapped for cash before. You have the New York Jets, who the guy has Woody Johnson. He has money, but he's kind of cheap. And but with Shad Khan, he's willing to fork out the extra money to be able to make it easier on the GM. And I think that's awesome. Now, granted, Shad Khan just has money. He's a really, really rich dude. And, that's probably one thing that he has over Wayne Weaver, where he had way more money than Wayne Weaver has, but it helps us out in this situation. Plus on top of that, the no state income taxes in Florida helps out. And now what's going to help out is now you're going to have players wanting to come to Jacksonville to be a part of the Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson dynasty we're trying to build, and to be a part of, a culture that seems to be, pretty well in shape. And we've already heard about DeAndre Hopkins, for example, reportedly maybe wanting to come here. We've heard about, Calvin Ridley is super excited to come here, and I'm sure he's been really inspired just being able to, since getting traded to the Jaguars. The Jaguars, I think, are like 7-2 since trading for Calvin Ridley. I'm sure it's been really motivating for him to watch our team do well and be like, I want to help this team go to a Super Bowl. So, there's a lot of good stuff going on in Jacksonville, and so that's going to help out too. So we're going to take a look at this thing, man. Now, going into this offseason, I got 4 different top needs for us. Number 1 has to be tight end, because currently our top 3 tight ends on a 2022 roster are all set to be free agents, that being Evan Ingram, Dan Arnold, and Chris Manhertz. Now, the obvious one is we have to re-sign Evan Ingram. Yeah, he's probably number 1 on my re-sign list, because, Evan Ingram did a lot better as the season went on, and he really ended the season really well, both in the pass game and just the run blocking game. He's a really, really good culture fit. I got a little bit choked up watching sounds of the game, and he's kind of in there crying. He literally said that he was losing his love for the game of football until he came to Jacksonville and he got it back. So, he wants to be here. Hopefully we can work out something good. I know a lot of people say, like, sign a team friendly deal. Like I that's better in theory, but really, these guys only have certain times where they get big paydays. He took a chance on himself taking a 1-year deal with a bunch of teams offering a multi-year deal. So Jaguars, we're going to have to pay up, and he deserves to be paid. He's, like I said, the 2022 season was great for him. Our offense would not have been the same without him, and we should definitely move forward with him. And then, find cheap tight ends along the way. And if we're going to upgrade at tight end, re-sign Evan Ingram and do it through the draft ultimately. Number 2 is interior defensive line. We just don't get enough pressure on the interior of the defensive line. And, we got some guys that are getting older. We're kind of old at that spot. So, and really, defensive line is always a need for teams. Teams always need defensive linemen. You're always drafting them because there's such a huge rotation going on at that spot. So that's a need for me. Number 3 is nickel cornerback. We came into the season thinking that, look, Tyson Campbell was going to be good, and Tyson Campbell was good playing on the outside. We thought Shaq Griffin was going to play outside corner, and then Darius Williams was going to play nickel. But Shaq Griffin had a terrible year. Apparently he was playing with injury for a lot of the year, with back problems. And then Williams wasn't that good at nickel cornerback, and then he moved to outside, and he was a lot better. So I imagine that he'll play outside for the Jaguars again. We probably we can maybe draft an outside corner, but overall we need to draft a good corner because we need a nickel cornerback really bad. Trey Herndon just does not have the speed for it, and he's a good backup, very dependable backup, but when it comes to starting level, teams are just going to go pick on him, and he's not a championship caliber quarterback. So the Jaguars need to upgrade at the nickel cornerback spot. And then I also have interior offensive line, more specifically guard, because look, Brandon Sheriff is only getting older. You need to, probably you might be replacing Brandon Sheriff in 2024. So bring in a guy, have him do like Walker Little, have him sit a year and then play, have him start in 2024, develop him kind of like the Jaguars did with Ben Barch, and, move forward with that. So those are really some of the top needs for the Jaguars. Now, some Jaguars that are impending free agents. I'm going to go through the list and kind of figure out what we should do with them. Evan Ingram, I've touched on him. We need to re-sign him. The big question is Juwan Taylor. This is a huge question mark. He had a tremendous year, and quite frankly, he was a Jaguars' best offensive lineman. And look, I'm in the business where like I don't want to let our best players walk. I don't want to let our best players leave. But like, how do we keep Juwan Taylor on the roster? I think there is a pathway where you can. I think you can give him a relatively large deal and move on with the fact that, look, Walker Little will start at left tackle because, quite frankly, he was probably better than Cam Robinson at left tackle. And then you say, okay, Cam, you're going to play left guard. That's what it is. You're either playing left guard or you're going to be the swing tackle. And it sucks because, look, Cam Robinson, his whole life in college and the NFL, he's been playing left tackle. But quite frankly, he got outplayed. And these are the kind of tough things that you have to do. And, he signed a big salary, so they're not just going to cut him. However, it's like really, really loaded in 2023, where 2024, you can get him off the books relatively easy. And you look at it and, Juwan Taylor, great right tackle. Walker Little, he's so natural at left tackle where, I think that's kind of where I'm shifting. And yeah, I find a way to keep, Juwan Taylor and move forward him a right tackle, and Walker Little will be the future left tackle, and then, try to use Cam maybe as a swing tackle. I don't know. I know Cam isn't going to be happy with that, but it's a tough business, man. It's a tough business, and you need your best players on the field. I mean, straight up. And I don't want to let a homegrown guy like Juwan Taylor, who, played high school football in Cocoa Beach. He played college football at University of Florida. He's drafted as a Jacksonville Jaguar in a second round. The man has a Jaguars logo tattooed on his leg. This man needs to be a Jaguar. So find a way to make him stay. Trent Baalke, it's up to you, man, and whoever the salary cap guy is. Next up, Marvin Jones. We're gonna let Marvin Jones walk. Look, he was good for us these couple years, but with Calvin Ridley coming in, and him just naturally getting older, he's gonna get bumped down the depth chart. And quite frankly, if you're a fourth, fifth, or sixth wide receiver, and you have no special teams ability, you really don't have any place on a roster. The unfortunate thing for Marvin Jones is that he'll more than likely be a starter on a team that's going through a rebuild. Like, he could very well be on like the Houston Texans or something like that next year. Maybe the Bears sign him. He'll probably be on a bad team next year, if he's not going to have any special teams ability, which stinks. But unfortunately, there's no room with how we're improving. There's no longer a need for him on the roster. Next up is Arden Key. I would find a way to keep Arden Key on the roster, as well as Dawon Smoot. Now, Dawon Smoot was probably in line for a pretty decent deal, from whether the Jaguars or another team, but he tore his Achilles really, really late in the year. What was it, December 22nd, in New York? And that's Achilles are really tough injuries. I don't see any team really want to give up a lot to sign him to a lot of money, so he might just do a 1 year with the Jaguars to prove that he can do it, and then maybe he gets a deal later. But the unfortunate thing for him is that he won't get the payday, but maybe the Jaguars benefit from it to where maybe they get him for the low. But it's gonna be tough, man. Like that injury is probably gonna linger into the season. I mean, granted, James Robinson's might not have, but defensive linemen, I don't know. It's a whole different position. You're pushing a lot more, so we'll see. So those are some of the. And those aren't all the free agents. Those are just some guys that I went through. I mean, you can, like, I imagine Dewey Wingard's going to be pretty cheap. I imagine just some of these other, Tyler Shatley, I think he signed a 2-year deal. I think Tyler Shatley's actually a free agent. We'll bring him back. We'll bring him back on another 1-year deal. That's Tyler Shatley's thing. So, some more guys that we want to talk about. Look, Calvin Ridley is coming into the team next year, and Josh Allen, and both of them are playing on a 5th-year option, and 5th-year options are 100% against the cap. So it is wise. Like, Calvin Ridley, I'm not, I'm letting him play on a 5th-year option to see exactly what he is, but with Josh Allen, I want to keep Josh Allen. I mean, I know he's not this super elite pass rusher, but, I try to sign him to a deal that's kind of what he's worth. You know what I mean? And just hope that he can continue to improve. But Josh Allen, I think, is a homegrown guy. I'd try to find a way to keep him. It's disappointing because he can be really, really good, but he can also disappear. Like, he disappeared midseason. He disappeared against the Chiefs. So I don't know. I hope he has to hit his ceiling. Of course, 4 years in the NFL, maybe he is what he is, but I still think that there's a lot of potential in there to unlock. So, maybe with us getting better, I don't know. We'll see. So now some guys that we should cut or restructure. Shaquille Griffin is the easiest cut, $13 million off the cap. I know he spoke to the media, said he really wants to be back on the Jaguars, and he had some real issues where he should have had surgery in the offseason on his back, but and that's why he played bad. But $13 million, you're already expensive at wide receiver with Darius Williams. Cut him. Roy Robinson Harris, I love him, especially after watching sounds of the game. The guy is awesome, but he might need to be cut. $7.8 million that you're saving. I'd love to find a way to restructure him, but yeah, he's really, really expensive. And, we're getting kind of expensive at that spot, especially with Fatu Kasi there too. So, draft, replace, do your thing. Caleb on Chason is a very, very easy cut for me. You're saving $2.4 million. This guy was a huge bust. I put this on Twitter. Do you guys ever remember, like, Caleb on Chason having a single highlight for the Jaguars? I can't remember anything this guy has done. And he's playing. He's on the field. He's playing. I mean, you see him out there on pass rushing packages. He just doesn't do anything. And yeah, just a complete bust. It's unfortunate, but like, you're saving $2.4 million. You're gonna do, like, you can find a guy off the street and do the same exact thing he does for veterans minimum. It's unfortunate, and I know he loves the Jaguars. He's a good teammate. He pumps his teammates up, but what does that get you? And the last one is kind of controversial. I would find a way to try to restructure this guy, but Jamal Agnew, $4.7 million straight off the cap. Yikes. That's a lot of money for a guy that's a kick returner or punt returner. I know we use him a little bit in the offense, but he's not the same on the offense, man. Especially, like, I judge players a lot by what they do in the playoffs. And, he was on Instagram complaining he's not getting the ball enough. They get him the ball in the playoffs, and he slips within the 5-yard line against the Chargers. He had that terrible fumble against the Chiefs that didn't necessarily lose the game for us, but in the list of plays that ultimately lost the game for us, I mean, that was right up there. That was just, an error on yourself. And I don't know, he's just a little bit different when he gets the ball on the offense. And now with us leveling up in the offense with Calvin Ridley and me, I mean, I would try to get ETN more involved in the passing game, because he really doesn't get a lot of rush attempts, and Doug Peterson loves passing the ball. And I think ETN would have been more involved in the passing game had his hands maybe been a little bit better, but maybe they deemed that, okay, he's not ready for this yet. I really hope in the offseason he can work on that. And then some of these screens that you're seeing, like, remember that screen to Ingram last game? You're giving screens to Agnew. I would love for ETN to get more involved in that side, because when it comes to true playmaker ability, he's as good as anybody on the team, man. I mean, straight up, as good as anybody on the team. He's fast, he's powerful, he has great contact balance. If he holds onto the ball, he's the best player on the offense, non-quarterback on the offense, straight up. So, Agnew's a guy that I take a look at. He's definitely not coming back on this $4.7 million cap hit. I'm hoping we can restructure him. But if not, unfortunately, he might be gone. And who do you replace him with? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can. It's I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Figure it out, Trent. Now, that's kind of a look at that. Now, when you look at the NFL draft, look, the Jaguars, we may not be loaded with picks, but we're also not pick deficit. Pick whatever. We have a first round pick, we have a second round pick, we have a third round pick, we have 2 fourth round picks, we have a 5th round pick and 2 6th round picks. So yeah, I mean, granted, we're picking late in the rounds, but we have an opportunity to really improve our roster. Start hitting on your draft picks. start to where you're not having to pay expensive guys like Roy Robertson Harris, pay expensive like cornerbacks. You can, re-sign your homegrown talent, re-sign the elite guys on your team that are top of their level. You let some of the, middling draft picks kind of go. And this is how you keep coming in the playoffs, man. You draft well, you retain your own players that are really good, and then boom, we're in the playoffs every year making Super Bowl runs. So excited. So excited. It's going to be a fun offseason. Maybe not like as crazy as the last two off seasons. I mean, when you go through GM and head coach searches and you have all this cap space and you have all these draft picks, a little bit different. But, I'm happy to not cover another head coaching search. And I'm really, really happy with where the team is at, with how we ended, with we're not sitting here arguing with each other about our quarterback. If he's the answer, is he not the answer? We're arguing about, is Trevor Lawrence top 5 or not top 5? I mean, we're in a good spot right now. So before I end this video, man, shout out to everybody that signed up for Sweeps. That is a fantasy type of app that I partnered up with, not necessarily fantasy, more prop bets. And we had a squares competition for the Jaguars Chiefs game last week, and somebody won $100, and we're running it back again. Kansas City Chiefs versus Bengals. We're running squares. It's completely free sign up, completely free entry, $0 down for a chance to win 100. So I'm gonna put that link down below if you guys want to join in on it and potentially win that money. That would be awesome. So all that's gonna be down below. If you have any questions, hit me up. And with all that said, man, 2023 offseason is here. It's time to start preparing for a Super Bowl run because we are ready. With all that said, thanks for watching. Drop a like for me. Go Jags.